to see how I was trying to force my happy ending on these characters when that wasn't the ending that was true for the characters yet.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, this is a question about your interactions with parents who don't want their children to be exposed to your books and want to have your books censored in the school libraries. Just like, you can tell us about the nature of your interactions with parents.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing to think about because obviously, well, maybe not obviously, censorship is something that I've been put in a position of thinking about a lot more than I would have had I just written books about, ponies or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with ponies. I wrote about having sex with ponies. Okay, I'll stop there. No having sex with ponies. I'm not encouraged. God, Lauren. All right, so the problem is not with somebody's parents telling their kid, hey, Maria, you can't read this book. You're not, we don't want you to. Because that is their prerogative as parents. And I'm a parent, and so I do tell my kids a lot, sorry, you're the kid, I'm the parent, deal with it. It's never about reading. I'm up to them reading whatever they want to read. But, if they think they should get to stay up till 11, I'm saying, sorry, no negotiation. But they're little, by the way. They're not in high school. But where the problem comes is when that same parent says, I think there is something corrosive about the values in this book, so corrosive that I don't want any kid to read it, so corrosive that it's rotting the fiber and the fabric of my kid's school and we need it out. And that's a pretty intense position for a grown-up to take. And I think what really gets me about that is that the grown-ups forget that, look, the librarians have already vetted the books for a high school library. It's not, just a free-for-all, yeah, we'll take whatever you give us, yeah, let's put Playboy on the shelves. I mean, they've gone to school and learned how to pick books out that are appropriate for you guys to read, blah, blah, blah. So some of the parents I get write me just about their own kid. Like, I was so upset that my kid found this book. And then others write me to say, you are a sick individual, you're a deviant, I've been called a pedophile, I've been called Satan, I've been called a girl with very loose morals. So I get anger and I get fear. Those are the two big reactions I get. Anger is a secondary emotion, I think. So I think it springs from fear, but I think it also springs from somebody wanting to just be mad about something. And those parents often you can't really engage with because they just want to be pissed off. But the parents who are fearful, I always write them back. And sometimes we just have a talk about, what, I get you that you want to keep your kids safe, but having a discussion about, a gay character is actually a really cool thing to do, or having a discussion about what an erection is. I mean, do it now while your kid still wants to talk to you. If you shut them down, then you're going to shut them up.
Nice. Well said.
I actually have a question. Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure.
So the Internet Girls books, TTYL and the most famous ones, I guess. Come on in, Shifra. Characters, they started about 15 in the first book, so...
Sophomores, yep.
So the idea is that, in theory, that these books are kind of aimed at girls that are roughly the same age as the characters. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, it does, except, and I didn't know this when I was writing them, there's this whole idea of aspirational fiction, meaning... well, you know what it means, but I'll tell maybe everybody does.
Well, you could say, when you're the people that read 17 magazine are the people
right.
that are 12 and 13 and not the 17 and 18-year-olds, right? So in the same way, you would have younger people reading your books about
right.
15-year-olds.
Which I didn't think about, honestly. I wrote true sophomores. And so maybe, at least in my opinion, and from my memories and my experience, I didn't young it down. I didn't write pretend sophomores. I've since found that some writers do intentionally write clean YA, and that's cool too. But some people write 10th graders with the idea of 8th graders reading it. I write 10th graders with the idea of being authentic and of representing a reality. And most 8th graders can handle it just fine. But I don't. I really try. I don't try to go out and offend people on purpose. And I have learned over the years to be careful about stupid things like swear words, because it's such an easy way for a gatekeeper to slam the gate shut, is to say, this book has bad words in it, it's naughty. and that's a silly reason to have the book be taken off the shelves, I think. But I
Makes
don't
sense.
shy away from letting the kids do what they really do.
Yeah. You kind of got at what I was wondering, which is that, knowing that there are girls in 6th and 7th grade that are reading these novels, which you were probably thinking of sophomores and juniors reading, do you have any misgivings about that yourself?
Well, the world is out there. I sure can't. I can't control what anybody reads, except for my own self, really, and possibly my kids. Do I have misgivings? Here's the thing. I used to not even say a word. Like, say I was at a book fair, and a grandmom would come up, being led by the hand by a 9-year-old, would come running up to me and say, "This is the book I want. This is the book I want," and point to TTYL. I'd think in my head, "Ooh, maybe it's not the right book for you," but I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to be the bad guy or the meanie, and I thought, who am I to say? And I've since learned that it's not only fine for me to say, but it's probably an obligation for me to say, "Hold on, grandmother, listen up. This book is about sophomores doing things that high school girls do. Let me give you, they drink, they use swear words. If you're cool with it, I'm cool with it, but you need to know that before you buy." So I do now try to be more transparent about what the books are about. I never try to be untransparent, but I try to say, hey, you might freak out about this, so here it is. But my kid read it when he was in 5th grade, and you kids who are in the class, y'all have read stuff, right? I feel like ideas are not dangerous. Ideas are something that you process and think about, and then help your brains be more capable of processing more information. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I found them really thrilling. I read them and tried to. Just because.
Oh, great! Thanks. Yeah,
no,
that's good.
I'm trying to remember how old I was when
5.
I read them, but
I definitely read them in middle school.
Yeah, probably I was definitely not a teenager, but I really enjoyed it for that reason, because it's not like the thing you would normally see in your daily reading, or that your parents would necessarily want you to be reading. But how did I find the book? A parent from one of my classmates, who was like her daughter was my age at that time, she recommended the books to me, so she was obviously totally but yeah, I found them really cool to read at that age. It would be interesting to look back now.
Well, and that's one of the things that's been interesting for me as a writer, is that the girls who I wrote them for actually don't read them. Like, sometimes high school girls find them, but a lot of times high school kids have moved on to grown-up fiction, adult fiction or whatever by that point. And in a way, I feel like that's a shame, because I think they're relevant to sophomores and juniors and seniors too. But the other thing that I always feel so funny trying to defend is that it's not like the girls in TTYL are these horrible, loose characters, right? Did you remember they stand up for each other, they make mistakes, but they learn from them, blah, blah, blah. You could make a case for them being very moral books. It's just that they're not sanitized, if that makes sense.
I think we've touched on this. What makes you interested in, well, you were just talking about this, but what makes you interested in writing for teens in particular? Like, we're kind of a hard crowd to please. But
oh God, are y'all a hard crowd to please? I think you're cool. Yeah. I would always rather sit at the kids' table than the grown-ups' table at the Thanksgiving. Like, who wants to sit with the boring relatives? I'd rather sit with the kids. I think that teenagers have yet to fully develop their bullshit veneer. Like, they haven't yet learned how to be the glossy, "This is who I am." Like, everything is more. Of course, this is not true for everybody, and I'm speaking globally, but I know that it's different for every individual. But I find teenagers to be very genuine, and y'all are experiencing things and thinking about things, and you might be jaded, but in a way it's almost a fake jadedness, because you honestly don't yet have the perspective to be fully jaded. And so it's like everything is new and dramatic and right there, and I just love the immediacy of all that. And I like some grown-ups too, but the grown-ups I tend to like are the ones that can still link into that.